Hey everybody, it's Sandy. I'm sorry I'm not there today, but I thought that I would create a capital structure video for you. And actually, in some ways, I guess this is going to work out for the best, because as you're going through and you are creating your own capital structure sheets, you'll be able to come back and revisit this video if you need to, as many times as you need to. Hopefully it won't be that complicated, but just in case. All right, so what is capital structure? It's two words that we don't usually use this way, and if you're not familiar with them, basically all we're doing is making sure that when your fake organization needs to spend money, the money is already in the bank waiting for it. In other words, we're going to roll out all of your fake organization's expenditures across a 12-month calendar and see when you need the money. And then using that 12-month rollout of money we need to spend, we're going to figure out when and how we're going to raise money so that we'll have it before we need to spend it. And that's basically what that amounts to. All right, so you can see we are on Blackboard's, our class Blackboard homepage, and I am, or not our homepage, but we're actually in the course content area, which the link is over here, as you know. And then if you come down to this team project materials folder and scroll down, you'll find a couple of financial sheets that we're going to be using for this activity. There's two of them. One's called 12-month budget, and the other one's called revenue and cash flow. Now, when you pull them up, they will be empty. I've got a couple going here that I've already got some numbers in, and you can ignore those for right now. I'll explain them in a minute, but let me just show you. This 12-month budget basically has down the side just about anything that an average business might need. And by might, I mean just that. Your business, your nonprofit, your fake organization may or may not need all of these things, but I've added them here so that you can actually see what all they might be, and you can decide if you need them or not. Obviously, this is a Word doc, and you can also add additional lines for stuff that are specific to your fake organization that I don't know about, so I didn't put lines in. All right, so the important thing to notice here is that what we're doing is we've got a calendar basically across the top. Each of these columns represents a month. This first section right here, this is all going to be income, all right? So I have decided that my fake organization, which I'll explain to you in a minute, is going to have a grant that's worth $12,000, and when I looked at how they are going to pay out that grant, I realized they're going to pay it out in quarters. They're going to give me $4,000, well, that'll be $16,000. All right, fine. We'll just change it to 16 because that's easier than redoing my math. I know, you're not allowed 16. Just bear with me so that we can show you how this is all done. All right, so they're going to pay it out quarterly, $4,000 at a time, March, the end of March, the end of June, the end of September, the end of December. Okay, and I've also decided that we're going to do a couple of fundraisers. We're going to do a summer golf tournament. And a winter holiday party. Okay. And for the summer golf tournament, I am predicting that we are going to bring in $46,000. And I'm, just so you know, I'm predicting that because when I was at the American Academy of Pediatrics, we actually spent about $8,000, and we brought in about $52,000. And when we subtracted the amount of money that we spent, we netted $46,000, and that was our first golf tournament. They say that was actually very good for a first tournament, but that's what we did, so that's what I used in this. I just made it up, but you can use Google to find out how much money you might make from an activity like this. You'll find plenty of advice on Google online. All right, and in December, I don't think we made quite as much as the golf tournament. I don't remember what it was. I simply picked $30,000 here because it seemed like a good amount for us to work with. So these figures represent the income that I have planned for my fake organization. Now, let me tell you about my fake organization. I've decided that I am going to run a summer activity camp June, July, and August to give students who are in poor neighborhoods where maybe they don't have these kind of opportunities in the school anymore because their schools don't have the money to fund them, exposure to sports and the arts and theater, and that's what I want to do. So here is the money that I have. So I now know that I have this much money, which looks like $76,000 plus 16 was 86, and 16 is about $92,000. I figured out how to bring in $92,000 so far. All right, if I add up my 16 plus my 76. All right, so now we're going to come down here and you're going to see I very oversimplified this. You will have to actually figure out what you really need. I'm just adding in a few numbers so that we can show you the math, and but I'm not overdoing it because I don't want to be any more confusing than I need to be. I have decided that there are only going to be three expenditures other than employee expenditures for my summer camp. The first is I'm going to have to pay rent to a school. So I don't have to actually find myself a facility because I'm going to partner with a school, and the school is going to allow me to pay them $100 a month rent. They don't really need the rent. What they do need, it turns out, is they need to buy insurance to cover my activities. They need to buy a rider. A rider is when you add another thing to be insured. So like if you have homeowners insurance and you go out and you buy a fancy piece of art, you call up your insurance guy and you tell them I need to add this piece of artwork so that it's covered in case my house burns down or somebody steals it. And they tell you, okay, we will create a rider for that one piece of art, and they tell you what it will cost, what you will have to pay for that rider. In this case, we're adding a program and some people to the school's normal insurance, and we're going to say that it's going to be for the school. We don't have the insurance, they do, because it's on their building, but we're going to say that that insurance is going to cost them, that rider is going to cost them $1,200. So they have to get the $1,200 from us. So they're going to charge us rent of $1,200, which we're going to pay a month at a time, $100 a month. So you see that this is the actual cost, and we divided it by 12, and we are responsible to pay $100 a month. The other things that we're going to be paying for are equipment. All right, we've got these pieces of equipment. I'm going to buy some sports equipment, and I've just estimated $2,000. I'm going to buy some art supplies. I've estimated $1,000. And for my theater folks, I've decided we're going to need to buy some materials to build a set, and maybe some cheap props and costumey stuff from Goodwill and Salvation Army, and I am budgeting $1,000. Okay, so now when you add my $100 for my insurance to the cost of this equipment, in this month we get $4,100. All the rest of the months it's just $100 because it's that rent payment. Okay, so these are our stuff payments, our rent payment and our equipment payment. That's just stuff. Now what about our people payments? Okay, so we come down here, it says salaries and benefits. You can actually add as many lines as you want because this is a Word doc, but I have decided that altogether I need 5 employees. I may need some volunteers too, but they aren't going to cost me any money per se. There may be some money for training or whatever that you'll decide you need to do with your volunteers if you have them. But right now, for the purpose of showing you how to fill out these forms, I'm going with 5 employees. All right, who are they? Well, number 1 is the executive director. Maybe that's me. All right, I've decided that this executive director is going to have to work all year long. They're going to have to be raising money and making contacts with the schools and so forth. And during camp, obviously, they're going to have to be managing the camp. So I've decided that they need $50,000 for an annual salary. Now, What about your and your executive director for your fake organization? Should you just go with $50,000? Well, no. How are you going to decide how much you should go with? I suggest very strongly that you use Google and you type in something like Summer Camp Executive Salary Arizona, okay? Or Science Research Center Executive Director Arizona, and see what comes up. You'll probably get a range. So executive directors for nonprofits are might be paid anywhere from $35,000 to $350,000 a year, and a lot of it depends on what a competitive salary would be in the private sector, but also how large the organization is, how much money it manages. A larger, richer organization that manages a whole lot of people, a whole lot of money, your executive is going to make a whole lot more than if it's pretty tiny. And in our case, it's pretty tiny, but because they're going to have to raise money and do all kinds of stuff without much help, because there's only 2 full-time employees, we're going to pay this person $50,000. And then I also decided we needed an administrative assistant year-round, and you might pay an administrative assistant somewhere between, I don't know, $20,000 and $80,000, depending on how big the organization is. But I've decided on $30,000 because they're going to be busting their behinds helping the executive director all year, and you need to find somebody that's a little bit more qualified than your $20,000 person. That may not even be enough actually, but that's where I put it, and it doesn't matter because this is fake anyway, right? Okay, now employees, my summer sports counselors, my summer counselors. I need 1 for sports, 1 for art, and 1 for theater, right? These folks right here. And I've decided that if I were paying them all year, I would be paying them $30,000, like my administrative assistant. Go figure why I thought that up. But I think I did it for convenience sake. But you, again, need to actually Google how much it will cost you for these people. I have decided that I am going to hire my counselors the month before they need to get started. And I'm going to have them work the whole month, but only half hours. They're going to have to organize volunteers, go buy that equipment, set up their programs, stuff like that. So the month before they get there, they need to put about 20 hours a week into doing that. So I'm going to give them half of a monthly amount. Remember, $30,000 prorates by 12 into $2,500. So if they're working half of a month of May, they're going to get half of that. But then you can see here in June, July, and August, they will get their full salary. All right, so we are only paying these 3 employees for 4 months out of the year, and this is where we plug their money in. Okay, so let's come down here and take a look. When I add up all of this money right here, I come up with salaries of $106,250. That is the total amount of salaries I need to pay in this first year. Now, hopefully this pilot year will go well, and next year I will maybe give myself a raise and also expand to 2 more schools and have to have a bunch more counselors to cover my other schools, and this amount, 106,000 plus, will go up by maybe more than 3 times. But for right now, this is it. However, when I look at how this money gets paid, what I'm basically doing is adding down these columns, and I see for January, February, March, and April, I've only got the 2 of us, my executive director and me, and I mean my administrative assistant, and how much I need to pay them out is this much. However, the first month of May, when I have those counselors and they're working at halftime, this is how much money I'm going to need to have in the bank in order to pay those people out. And when they're working full-time, these 3 months, it will be this amount of money. All right, and then summer will be over and we'll be back to just the 2 of us, executive director and administrative assistant. Okay, But we're really not done yet, because there's all kinds of employee, I don't know, taxes and stuff like that that you have to have and pay, not directly to your employee, but you have to turn it into the government on top of how much money you're paying your actual employees. The amount that we use to cover this amount is 19% of your total that you're paying out for your employees. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this number, this total salary, 106,250. We're going to get our trusty calculator up here, and we're going to take 106,250, and we're going to multiply it times 0.19, or 19%, and we're going to find that the total amount that we're going to owe the government for taxes and Social Security and workers' comp and all that kind of stuff that we have to have put away is something over $20,000. But we're going to be paying that off by the month. Okay, so we're going to divide that by 12. We're going to get $1,682 approximately. And you can see that I have plugged that number in here all the way across the board. Now, I think in real life you would actually do that 19% calculation on each of these amounts. So let's just do that to show what I'm talking about. Let's clear this. 6667 times 0.19 equals 1266.73. So this would actually be 1266.73. And it would be that all the way over until we get to here, and then we would multiply that number, which would be 10,117 times 0.19 equals 1922.23, and so on. So that this amount wouldn't be equal all the time, but I have just told you it's okay with me if you actually just divide it by 12 and put that number in all the way across, because otherwise it might be a heck of a lot of math you don't need to do. It's just important that we get a general idea of how we fill these out. If you're a real organization, you're going to have a bookkeeper, and whether it's on staff or whether it's a contract person, which, by the way, if you think you're going to have a contract person do part-time bookkeeping, be sure and put that into your expenses on this form. You'll see where that goes. All right, so now we've got these numbers down here. Let's change these all back to what they were so that the numbers make sense down below. All right, so what I've done is I've added this number, and I've got this number right here. So this is the total salary and all those benefits that went with it. And remember, these are the other expenses. This is the $100 of rent until we get over here into April when they need to buy the equipment. And those other expenses shoot up to $4,100, but the rest of the year they're $100. Now we can just come down and add these two figures up, and we end up with 8,449. And then we see over here in April, when we have more people and more expenses, our number is right here. It's this number, 14,899. And then we're back down to the 100 a month for expenses, but we have full-time employees, and when we add that up, we end up with this for the next 3 months. All right, and then we're back down to this amount when the only expense is the rent plus the 2 employees. Everybody figuring that out? Okay, those are the numbers right here. This is the set of numbers right here that we are going to carry over to the other sheet. So let's pull up this other sheet right here, and you will see that I have carried this over, and here are these exact same numbers. All right, now what I've got up here is our grant income. All right, so this is the money that we're getting for grants, and what we're going to do is we're going to use that money to pay down our expenses. We don't have any grant income in January, so right away, before we do any fundraising, if we didn't have any, we would see that in January we are in the hole. We're in the red by 8,400 all the way across. We're going to be in the red by all of these amounts because the only money we have so far is our grant money, which I just realized, same mistake. Okay, so when we have this grant money showing up, it does reduce the amount that we have, that we're in the negative for that month. All right. Okay, so you understand we're just basically showing you that using the grant money, we still need to collect all the rest of this money. So then come down here to our fundraising. We've got $46,000 right here and $30,000 over here. Okay, so how does this help us? Let us assume that this $30,000 right here was also this holiday party. We also had it the year before this particular 12-month period. So let's say that we have carryover. All right, let's make this blue. Let's say you have carryover from last year of $30,000. Okay, so you have this amount of money here after you have the graph. Let's say we have $30,000 minus 8,449 equals 21,551. Hey, look, I already put that in there. And let's say that we then have left over 21. This is what we have after we subtract this. The next month we have this expense again, and we subtract it from this amount, and we get this. And then the next month we had $4,000 of grant, and when we paid off that amount of money, we have this amount. So we're going to subtract $4,449 from this $13,102, and we now have $8,653 left in the bank from last year's $30,000 holiday party. And we come up to right here where we now have to subtract. We've got, where are we? We've got $8,653 left in the bank, and we need to subtract what we have to pay out the next month, which is $8,449, and we only have $204 left in the bank now. All right, this is a problem because look how much money we have to pay out in April. Remember, we've got to pay we've got to buy some equipment, and we've got half-time counselors, and that is how much money we have to pay out in April. And all we've got in the bank right now left from that last year carryover is $204,000. And we don't get any more money in the bank until the following month, when we have our golf tournament and we get $46,000 in. So here we are, and we don't have any money to pay this. What should we do? Should we close our doors? I hope not. So here are some things that we could do. Because we're still in our planning stage, we could simply decide, bad idea to hold our golf tournament in June. Why don't we hold it in April? Okay, so now we have, April's beautiful in Arizona. So we have just moved our golf tournament to April. And now, instead of subtracting $8,449 from $8,653, we actually are going to have in our bank $8,653 plus $46,000 equals, there, let's let the calculator do it, 8,653 plus 4,600 equals 54,600. Let's see, 54,600. What was it? 653. Oops, 653. All right, so now we can subtract this amount right here, 8,449. Let's do that. Let's see, 5, 4, 6, 5, 3 minus 8, 4, 4, 9 equals 46,204. So now when it comes to this number right here in April, because we moved the golf tournament, in May, because we moved the golf tournament to April, we can subtract the 14899 to, and we have $31,000. What was it? 31,305. So we have 31,305 here. Okay. So next month we had a $4,000 grant money come in. So even though our expenses were $15,949, we actually only need, on top of the grant, $11,949. So we're going to subtract 11,949 from our 31,000, and we are left with 19,356. All right, now what happens here? We've got to take another same amount away, 949. And now we've got only $4,000 left. Something didn't work out. Let me do this again. Let me try that again because that wasn't exactly right. 1,9,356 minus 1,5,949 equals $3,407. Okay, so now all we have is $3,407. Okay, here we are again. We're right here now. This is April, May, June, and after we paid for June, we only have $3,400 to pay for July, and we don't have enough money. We're going to be in the hole. Are we going to close ourselves down? Well, we hope not. But we are going to, we can see here that our $46,000 plus our $30,000 is not going to be enough to carry us across the whole year. And so what we know now is we're going to have to add some other fundraising in one way or another, or revenue getting, into our mix. Now, what you do with that, we were able to be clever by moving the $46,000 around to when we received it. That helped carry us a little farther into the year. Maybe you want to come up with a social enterprise, okay? So maybe one of the things that I decide that I want to do is I want to use my, what could I do? I don't know, we're at activity camp. So maybe I hire some, I have a great idea. I just came up with this. All right, all of these people that are the golf, we've got a bunch of golf pros that work at the place where we held the golf tournament, and we do a midsummer thing that is like the golf tournament for all the same people that came, where we basically get the golf pros to give lessons, and they donate their time or they get paid very minimally. So we have golf, we have a better name for it than that, but we have golf lessons for charity. And we draw a lot of the same people that came to our golf tournament, and we hold it, that was in April, we hold this one in June, and we raise $20,000 for this event right here. Again, making it up, no idea. But now I know I've got $20,000 more in my pot. And so when it comes down here, I have this $31,000 plus next month's $20,000 equals $51,305. And so when I subtract my $1149, I'll be subtracting it from this number instead of that number. All right, so that puts me in a better position. And what would that number be? Let's see. I've got clear. I've got 51305 minus 11,949 equals 39,356. So 39,356. Okay, so now I've got 39,356, and when it is time to, the next time, I'm going to subtract from that minus 15,949, and I'm going to have 23,407 after I pay for this month. 23,407. Now the next month, here we go again. The next month I've got 15,949 to subtract from this amount. Oops, I didn't do it right. Sorry. Let's start this over. 23,407 minus 15,949 equals 7,458. All right, so I'm left with 7,458. Okay, now I'm still okay here because I got $4,000 more in on my grant the next month, and I only have $4,449 to subtract from that. So let's do that. I've got $3,009 left. Now, here we are again, and look at this. I'm not going to make it up, but we've got approximately $17,000 that we are in the hole before we get another grant amount and another $30,000 to carry us forward. And in fact, we probably can't count on having this money at the beginning of the month, so we really have like close to $22,000 that we are still down. So now we know that in order to do our organization, we're going to have to do more than these 3 fundraisers on top of our grants, right? We're going to have to, we're still about, this is 16, 17, and 5 is about $23,000 in the hole, and we're playing it pretty close. So we're going to have to figure out another $25,000, another way to get $25,000 in the door. And this is basically how we have to know, how we have to plan to know what we're going to do. In real life, there may be more than one grant, and there may be fundraisers that are bigger and better than $20,000 or $30,000 or $40,000. Even though I know that sounds like a lot of money, there are plenty of fundraisers that can raise more than that. You might do an auction. You might, well, for starters, you got to look at your funding model and figure out. You might be doing a solicitation of big donors. You might have a capital campaign where you basically go to people and sit down with them, and based on what they are able to give, you ask them to stretch and give you as much as they can. And so in these ways, but the main thing is you've got to figure out how you're going to bring in money, but also when you're going to bring in money. so that you will have your expenses covered. And this isn't the most fun thing that you're going to do this semester, but I think you can see how it is a very important thing to do if you plan on being sustainable longer than your first shortfall at the bank. And if you have questions, please feel free to email me or save them for Monday. And you guys will be working on this as you'll be working on this as teams until you're done. And I will, of course, be around whenever you are doing this in the classroom. So I think this is good. And again, if you have questions, you know how to find me.